begin with the roll call vote. Maureen?
Mr. Barnett?
Here.
Mrs. Eichelberger?
Here.
Mr. Halaki?
Here.
Mrs. Hoverder?
Here.
Mrs. Markle?
Here.
Dr. McLean?
Here.
Mr. Rudy?
Here.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Here.
Mr. Sechrist?
Here. Okay, we have everyone. Ask you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Do you have a flag or not? There we go. Nice job. I pledge allegiance to
Pledge
the
allegiance to
flag
the flag
of the United States of America.
United States of America,
And
and the republic for which it stands,
under God.
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, reminder that all voting will be done by roll call. And again, if you make a motion or a second, please identify yourself so Maureen can keep track of all of that. So with that, I would accept an approval for the minutes for the March 24th meeting.
This is Ann, so moved.
This is Beth, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. Maureen?
Mr. Barnett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger?
Yes.
Mr. Halaki?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoverder?
Yes.
Mrs. Markle?
Yes.
Dr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Sechrist?
Yes. And motion carries. I would accept a motion for approval of tonight's agenda.
This is Patricia Schaefer. So moved.
This
This
is
is Beth.
Alyssa Eichelberger, second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett?
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger?
Yes.
Mr. Halaki?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoverder?
Yes.
Mrs. Markle?
Yes.
Dr. McLean?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer?
Yes.
Mr. Sechrist?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, thank you. This is our time for recognition of the public. We would ask that you would give your name and address for the record. Citizens' comments or questions are welcome, but we would limit it to 5 minutes per presenter. Questions and comments concerning individual staff members, students, or your own children's problems will not be addressed at a public meeting. Your comments will be given consideration by the board. However, the board may choose to not provide a response on your issue this evening. So, do we have anyone who would like to address the board?
Yeah, so Ken, looking at the board's email address, there are no public comments in the email nor chat. We do have community members present in this meeting. So if there's any community member that has a question, you may go ahead at this point.
Okay. All right, we will move on then. Reports, Dr. Eschbach.
Well, welcome to our second online school board meeting. Not the way we want to have our school board meetings, but thankful that you can all participate this way. And special thanks to Mr. Beals for coordinating this and all our meetings. For those who aren't on the board, not only are we having our monthly board meetings this way, we're having committee meetings and budget meetings this way as well. I believe you're doing some interviews for superintendents this way as well. So I know this is a challenge for everybody, and I just a special thanks to Mr. Beals for that. If you think it's difficult having meetings online this way, imagine doing this every day with students and teaching classes this way. I want to send a huge thanks to our teachers and our principals for the work that they've been doing to make sure our students continue to learn in an online environment. Not it is obviously not as rich and as meaningful as when we are able to see them face to face. But I do know that our teachers are doing yeoman's work to make sure that our students continue to grow. There have been challenges with the online learning, and I know the tech department and Mr. Beals have been working to make sure our parents, our students have internet access, have devices. Really pleased to know and get the message from Mr. Beals today that we've had a really low amount of device breakage or malfunction, and he's been working very hard with Mr. Johnston and the tech department to make sure that they are up and running as quickly as possible. So that's been great. And I know he's also been working with parents that are having concerns with what the students are learning and what is the platform that they may be using. And equally, we have principals, we have teachers that are reaching out on a regular basis, either by phone or actually we have some principals that have made house calls to students who have not been responding online, not doing the work, and just to make sure that everything's okay and that they have access. I talked to Mrs. Murray yesterday from the middle school. One of the 800 students at the middle school, they had it down to only 4 that they weren't able to locate, and I think that's a really good percentage. I have been working with Mr. Lehman to talk about graduation and what that looks like. Right now, we are putting in place Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. A message was sent out to the seniors by Mr. Lehman last week about Plan A still being a June 2nd graduation. And we realized that Plan A probably won't happen, especially after some comments that Governor Wolf and Dr. Levine made this past week about the chances that a commencement ceremony could be held in a large venue are pretty slim. Plan B looks like a kind of a fun recognition of students on June 2nd in some way, shape, or form without coming together, and then having a more formal commencement ceremony at the end of July or beginning of August in Bostic Stadium. If for some reason Plan B can't happen, then we're looking at Plan C, which might be some type of a virtual graduation ceremony. So we're certainly hopeful that either Plan A or most likely Plan B can come to fruition, but we are working through the possibilities of if none of those are possible. So. And finally, I just want to thank Mr. Young and the Finance Committee and all the board members for their work at meeting and pulling together a budget in a very difficult economic environment, which could become even more difficult. I know board members have been putting in many hours on this budget, as has Mr. Young and the administration. So we're getting close to that finish line. I'm hoping that between now and the finish line, we're not adding a bunch of hurdles and moving the finish line. So with that, I will say thanks for a productive month and turn it back to Mr. Sechrist.
Thank you, Dr. Eschbach. All righty. Student liaison report, Zachary Bernick.
All right. Hello, everybody. Obviously, as a student, I'd be lying if there weren't, some road bumps and some hiccups with remote learning. But as Dr. Eschbach highlighted, I think that all the teachers and students have really done a great job coming together and doing the best we can. I know the teachers have been really attentive. They've been working extremely hard to try to continue, the education and finish off this year. So I just want to highlight that. Obviously, as far as the seniors go, nothing can replace what we've lost this spring, but I hope that everybody knows that we appreciate everything that they've done for us, whether it's, the signs that the Polar Bear Foundation sent out or putting on the lights at Bostic, or just the words of encouragement from teachers and administrators, and everybody working hard, as Dr. Eschbach just talked about, with trying to come up with something over the spring and summer to recognize us. So I just want everybody to know that we appreciate that. And just the general sentiment amongst people that I've talked to and myself is we're just trying to, remain as hopeful as we can. I know that yesterday Governor Wolf announced that golf courses will reopen, so I'm definitely excited for that. But we're just hopeful that things will calm down a bit in the summer and we can start to get back closer to normal. And then obviously, in the fall that everybody's in person on campus, and we can try to get back to a degree of normalcy as best we can.
All right, thank you, Zachary. Okay, any intermunicipal reports? Okay, CAIU, Mrs. Schaefer?
Well, as we have our district has been paying the employees and renegotiating the transportation contracts. The CAIU is also doing that. Their technology department, Dave Martin, he said he's impressed with the teams and the schools districts coming together during this crisis. And he and his team are working closely to stop cyber attacks and phishing attempts. And the CAIU is also working to provide education support to the school districts and the CAIU staff. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you very much. VOTEC, Mrs. Eichelberger.
Okay. So they're having the same issues that we are with the electronics for students. Right now, they're making sure every single one of their students is equipped with an electronic and has Wi-Fi. I think he had said as of this past week that every student was able to get an electronic. They looked and talked over reevaluating the budget that was previously passed, but they have decided to leave the budget as is. And as of right now, their awards night is going to be held at CLA on June 30th. They're still hoping that is going to happen, but if it doesn't, they are talking about doing a video recording of the instructors to the seniors that got awards, and videos with the administrations. That's about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Polar Bear Foundation, Dr. McLean.
Yes, hello. The Polar Bear Foundation has been busy. I was unable to be at the meeting, but I do have some updates. Okay, as Zach mentioned, the Polar Bear Foundation voted to give every senior a yard sign that said congratulations, and that was 240 signs that were distributed throughout the district. If you want to see what the sign looks like, you can go to the Polar Bear Foundation website, but it's really, really cool, and it was really kind of a gesture to them. The Polar Bear Foundation donated $500 to New Hope Ministries, and each of the board members matched that donation with a personal donation, so there was a total of $1,000 donated to New Hope Ministries. Also, they're voted to do the do double the good, which is supporting your community, and you can purchase gift cards. And there's a list of all different gift cards on the Polar Bear Foundation website. And what these cards will be done is they're going to be distributed through the guidance counselors to students and families and throughout the district. And finally, we have the 2020 launch grants. So up to 12 seniors are applying, or 12 seniors will be awarded about $500. There's the sign on the website. About $500 to help them with tools or equipment or supplies, or to cover expenses as they go on towards the next chapter in their life. So, and all of this information to find out about it is on the Polar Bear Foundation website to buy the gift cards, or for seniors to apply for the launch grants. So they've been busy during this virus time. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, business manager reports. Mr. Young.
Yes, Mr. President, I ask that the following checks be approved for payment. General fund checks dated from March 12th, 2020 to April 15th, 2020. For check number 325685 to check 325700, check 325757, check 325763, check 325775 to check 325790 in the amount of $644,520.03. General fund payroll checks dated March 20th, 2020 for 325686 to check 325699, and checks dated April 3rd, 2020 for check 325758 to check 325762 in the amount of $4,302.75. Student activity account checks dated March 12th, 2020 to April 5th, 15th, 2020 for check number 522 to check 526 in the amount of $1,809.61, and food service account checks dated April 28th, 2020 for check number 8728 to check 8741 for $52,126.37.
Mr. President, this is Mr. Halaki. I move to pay the bills.
This is Beth. I second that.
We have a
Beth
motion
McLean.
and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger,
Yes.
Mr. Halaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoveter,
Yes.
Mrs. Markle,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Seacrest.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you.
Mr. President, I'd ask for acceptance of the April 2020 Treasurers Report.
Mr. President, this is Mr. Halaki. I move to accept the April 2020 Treasurers Report.
This is Ann. I second that motion.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger,
Yes.
Mr. Halaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoveter,
Yes.
Mrs. Markle,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Seacrest.
Yes,
Motion passes.
And lastly, Mr. President, including the packet of reports of various accounts for the board's review.
thank you very much, Mr. Young. Okay, Budget and Finance Committee report. Mr. Halatke.
Mr. President, I move by consent to pass Budget and Finance Committee report, items A and B.
This is Kevin. I second that.
I have a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger,
Yes.
Mr. Halaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoveter,
Yes.
Mrs. Markle,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Seacrest.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Buildings and Grounds Committee report. Mr. Rudy.
Yes, Mr. President, I ask that we approve by consent the facility use requests listed in the agenda as items number 1, 2, and 3.
This is Ann. I second.
I have a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger,
Yes.
Mr. Halaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoveter,
Yes.
Mrs. Markle,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Seacrest.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Curriculum Committee report. Dr. McLean.
Yes, Mr. President, I would like to move to approve by consent items A through C.
This is Alyssa Eichelberger. I second.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger,
Yes.
Mr. Halaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoverder,
Yes.
Mrs. Markle,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
yes,
Mr. Seacrest.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. And Personnel Committee report, Mrs. Eichelberger.
Mr. President, I move to approve by consent items A through E and addendum C2.
This is Ann. I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger,
Yes.
Mr. Halaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoverder,
Yes.
Mrs. Markle,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
yes,
Mr. Seacrest.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. All right. We have 7 items for board action. I'm gonna ask Mr. Halaki if he would just work through these, save us some time.
Absolutely. Mr. President, I move to approve final approval of the 2021-2024 Special Education Comprehensive Plan.
This is Beth. I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger,
Yes.
Mr. Halaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoverder,
Yes.
Mrs. Markle,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
yes,
Mr. Seacrest.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. President, I move to ratify the memorandum of understanding with the Northern York Education Association for the Retirement Incentive Plan.
This is Ann. I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger,
Yes.
Mr. Halaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoverder,
Yes.
Mrs. Markle,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
yes,
Mr. Seacrest.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay.
Mr. President, I move to approve the amendment to the contract for transportation of students with Royer Bus Service for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year.
This is Jamie. I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger,
Yes.
Mr. Halaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoverder,
Yes.
Mrs. Markle,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
yes,
Mr. Seacrest.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. President, I move to approve the amendment of contract for transportation of students with Kaufman Bus Service for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year.
this is Patricia. I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger,
Yes.
Mr. Halaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoverder,
Yes.
Mrs. Markle,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes,
Mr. Seacrest.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. President, I move to approve the amending agreement with Quest Tech to add additional technology specialists to the existing contract.
This is Alyssa. I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger,
Yes.
Mr. Halaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoberter,
Yes.
Mrs. Markle,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
yes,
Mr. Seacrest.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Mr. President, I move to approve the authorization to issue an invitation for bids for the turf field project and authorize the administration to release the invitation for bids at a time deemed most appropriate by the administration and architect.
This is Kevin. I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President, this is Beth McLean. I've done a lot of thinking about this topic over the weekend, and first, I wanted on record that I fully support the turf field. However, given some of the hard decisions we need to make in the next several months and the uncertainty regarding finances, I do not believe this is an appropriate time to go out to bid. I propose that we move to table this motion for 6 months. If we go forward, the public will misinterpret our intentions with this action.
I would second that motion. This is Ann. I also feel that in light of the current budget constraints and how this may be perceived by the taxpayers, that maybe this isn't the appropriate time. I know we've spoke on many occasions concerning focusing right now our funds on essential projects, safety concerns, et cetera. And I'm not sure at this point that the turf field falls under that criteria.
All right, we have a motion to table this item for 6 months in a second.
Point of order, Mr. President, point of order.
Yeah.
We do not have a motion to table this. We have a motion to accept this and a second. That's all we have at this point.
Well, I believe Mrs. McLean made a motion to table the motion.
You've got to vote on the first motion first. Or vote on the motion to table.
Yeah, we would need, this is Mr. Halaki, we need a second to table, and I would just like to point out to the board members, this isn't putting the project out for bid. This is allowing the administration to use CoStars or other methods to establish pricing. And this is allowing the construction professionals to deem the appropriate time to bid.
We did have a motion to table for 6 months, and I believe Mrs. Hoberter seconded that.
That is correct.
So just to be clear, this is Mr. Halaki. You don't want to know what the cost of this is for at least 6 months. Is that correct?
This is Beth. That is correct. I just don't think, optics wise, this is not the time to be going out for bid. And I don't think a 6-month delay will send any other message but to our community that we're very concerned with the finances of the district. We're not saying no, we're just saying table the motion for 6 months. Let's reevaluate at that time when we figured out what our finances are. We don't have any idea about the grant. We don't, this is just not the right time to do it. And I'm all in favor of the turf field, and don't misinterpret that. And I know, Greg, you are, but I'm sorry. I do support it. I just don't think this is the right time.
When we
I would just point out, this is Greg. There's nothing in this motion that is telling the administration to put this out for bid tomorrow, next week.
But there's no reason to do it. This is Beth. There's no reason to do it. Why do we need to do it? We can do it in 6 months when the optics and everything, it's not misinterpreted by our community. It's a wrong visual to send this out now. And you know the decisions we've had to make in the last couple of days.
Yeah, and this is Mr. Halaki again. I'd say I really don't care about optics in this case. This is a procedural vote for a construction project. And unless you allow the administration to go out and utilize all the different bid methods for this, you're never going to know what the cost is, and you're always going to wonder. And
we're going to know
to do this and table it again.
This is Beth. We'll know in 6 months. Or what's the difference?
The difference is you may have missed an opportunity. That's
what
the
opportunity? We don't have the money to do it now anyway. We've missed no opportunity. We don't have the money. And you have not, and the Polar Bear Foundation and the district has not earned the 1.2 million we agreed upon. So what do you mean this is a missed opportunity? It doesn't make sense to me.
In our discussion, I believe last week, were we not talking about other means of finding a cost as far as going through CoStars or through the state in some way, shape, or form to get a cost?
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Seacrest. This is Mr. Halaki, and unless you allow the administration to release those plans, you can't do that.
Well, it's my understanding we didn't have to approve this to do that way.
That was my understanding as well.
Mr. Young, can you weigh in at all on this?
Mr. President, I can't answer one way or another whether or not we could or couldn't go out to state contract in terms of releasing the bids. I mean, in my opinion, we would take the project to the state contractors as is. I'm not sure if it's semantics or if it legally needs to say, release for bids, but it was my understanding that we were going to be asking the few state contracted vendors to give us estimates on what this work is. I can't answer the question as to, whether it technically needs to say, invitation for bids or release for bids. I don't have an answer for the specific language on that, but my understanding was that we were going to move forward with estimates from state contractors.
Yeah, this is Jamie. And again, I spoke up last week that I don't think we should do anything with the project right now. So I still stand on that.
And I agree with that also.
This is Dr. Eschbach. I'm really sorry that you all misunderstand the procedural nature of this motion. I obviously haven't done a very good job of explaining to you, despite multiple attempts. This procedural motion does not go out to bid. As we stated, we don't want to go out to bid at this point. All it does, it gives the opportunity to, in conjunction and in consultation with the board, to go to bid at the best possible time, so that we don't have, it may be 6 months from now, it may be 9 months from now, it may be a year from now. At any point in time, you will know when that is to occur. So I will apologize to those who have put a lot of time and effort into working on this, because I obviously haven't communicated very well.
Dr. Eschbach, this is Joe Rudy. Can you talk a little bit about the need to get it up front now, that we couldn't do it like next month or in 2 months, why you think we should do it now instead of waiting till a time closer to when we think we would want to do it, I guess?
Well, thanks for asking, Joe. I think first of all, it sends a message to the donors who have at this point donated about $820,000 towards the project, that there is a seriousness about our commitment to this. We can say we're committed to it, or we can take action to show that we're committed to it. I think secondly, it provides a timeline. We would go out, we would get the state contract, we would take a look at what those numbers look like through the state contract. That's not a bid process. That has already been bid. We are simply collecting that information based on our specific project. And then it would allow us to move forward from that point. So as I tried to explain last week, this is procedural in nature only. You can wait for 2 years to go out to bid. We know that from what the county will approve and the township will approve, that we have a lengthy time to do that. Simply procedural.
By passing this, though, I mean, when I read this, the administration can put this out to bid whenever they feel appropriate without any board approval, correct?
this is giving the board approval to allow that to happen. But I'm saying that that wouldn't be done without consultation with the board. It simply keeps it from having to wait, possibly 4 weeks if we find that there's an opportune time to go out to bid.
I guess my concern is the fact that, we don't have the funds raised, the 1.2. We have no idea where we are with this grant. I understand that the thought of trying to get an idea on the cost, but if that, the reality of it is we're talking the fall where we're actually going to do this. So how accurate would that bid be if you get it now, and then we're actually ready for the project 6 months from now? Are we going to have to go back and have it rebid, or 8 months from now?
Yes.
There's nothing in this motion that says we're going to go out to bid, Ken. This is Mr. Lackey, that says we're going to bid this tomorrow, next week, next month, 2 months.
But what I'm saying, if you're getting information for how much this is going to cost and you're doing it now, so you're going through whatever mechanism you need to do that, and then we actually don't put it out to bid for 6 to 8 months, that could be a drastic change in the price one way or the other, actually. Correct?
I'll defer to Kevin on that one, or maybe Alyssa, since her husband is in the construction industry and thought that bids in the next few months are going to be pretty low because people are looking for work.
This is Alyssa. I do think that that's correct, as in right now, if you're bidding something, it's going to be significantly low than in a couple months from now if we go out to bid and the economy is different. I don't know if it would be better or worse depending on where the economy is. But I think if you get a bid now, it's not going to be the same in 6 to 8 months from now.
And do we have clarification on the grant? I hate to repeat myself. If we were to go out and go ahead and do this and the money's not there for the grant, is that something we can go back and collect on, or is that something that we have to have the grant in place and then we spend the money?
This is Dr. Eschbach. I'm not sure I understand the question.
Again, we're talking about the grant. I mean, we were counting on getting a fair amount of money for this project from that. Okay, so say we were to go out to bid and actually start this thing in September or whenever, and the grants still not are funded. Okay, and say they fund it, the grant 6 months after we already get started with the project. Or did we miss that opportunity at that point, or not?
No, the grant process happens a little quicker than that because it's money that has to be spent in the financial year in which it takes place, and the grant we wouldn't want to finish the project before we got the grant money. I wouldn't even suggest we go out to bid prior to us filing for that grant.
Okay. Do you have a time frame on that, Dr. Eschbach?
Yeah, what I reported last week is they anticipate that maybe June, July time frame that they open the bids, and probably an August, September announcement.
If it's August, September, what does it harm to wait 6 months to see how the finances and what more money can be earned by the Polar Bear Foundation? So what is wrong with tabling it for 6 months then? That was Beth, by the way.
Hey, this is Kevin. I just want to respond. I know Greg had mentioned or kind of asked if I had any input on the construction costs, and much like Alyssa had said, it's and nobody has a crystal ball. We don't know whether they're going to go up, down, stay the same. In many cases, you know, there's time limits on bids. Pretty much in every case, we can actually specify that we want them to be, you know, hold them for a certain period of time. You know, so if we got bids now, we could tell them we want them to be valid for 90 days, 120 days, whatever we end up asking for, and they will bid accordingly. I personally, the reason I seconded this, and I agree, I don't want to spend money right now, but I also want to know. We don't know right now if this thing's going to be 1.2 million. We don't know if it's going to be 800,000. We don't know if it's going to be 2.2 million. I want to know what it's going to cost so we can actually make decisions on, you know, how we move forward with this, or at least, you know what we're up against. Right now, we don't know, and that's the reason I'm in favor of learning more about it. I am not by any means approving spending money right now on this, and nor do I think I will be in favor of approving if we don't reach the goals that we originally set out, which was raising the funds and, you know, seeing what the balance is at that time with regards to the current situation as well, which was not an original goal, but that's, you know, certainly weighs into it now. But I like the thought of understanding where we're at, what the costs are, and, you know, and getting that knowledge now versus later. So that's just my opinion.
All right, any further discussion? All right, so we have a motion on the table to table this for 6 months in a second. So we will do a roll call vote on this. Mrs. Ross.
Mr. Barnett.
No.
Mrs. Eichelberger.
Yes.
Mr. Halaki.
No.
Mrs. Hoverder.
Yes.
Mrs. Markle.
Yes.
Dr. McLean.
Yes.
Mr. Rudy.
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer.
Yes.
Mr. Sechrist.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, so that'll be tabled, I believe, till October. And we can re-examine, I guess, if things come up between now and then. I think we have that power, so.
Mr.
All right.
Seacrest, this is Mr. Lackey. I move to approve to pay Crabtree Rohrbach Architects $480 for the turf field project review by the geotechnical engineer.
This is Kevin. I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
This is Beth. What is the payment for? I mean, was it relevant to the turf bid, or is it something separate?
Something separate to get the final documents to the county and to the township. Money has already been set aside for this in capital reserve.
Okay, thank you. This is Beth.
And you said that paperwork is good for a couple of years, correct, Dr. Eschbach?
I'm not sure which paperwork you mean.
You said about this is to get start the paperwork with the municipalities, correct?
Approval by the county is good for, I believe, 2 years.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett.
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger.
Yes.
Mr. Halaki.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoverder.
Yes.
Mrs. Markle.
Yes.
Dr. McLean.
Yes.
Mr. Rudy.
Yes.
Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
Mr. Sechrist.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you. All righty. Any new business? Okay, one more opportunity for recognition of the public.
Mr. Seacrest, there are no emails in the email account and there are no questions in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Items for future agendas. I would accept a motion for adjournment.
This is Ann, so moved.
This is Mrs. Schaefer. Second.
Have a motion, second, any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Ross?
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Mrs. Eichelberger,
Yes.
Mr. Halaki,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoverder,
Yes.
Mrs. Markle,
Yes.
Dr. McLean,
Yes.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mrs. Schaefer,
Yes.
Mr. Sechrist.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, our next committee meeting will be May 12th. We have a budget meeting scheduled for May 14th, and our May board meeting will be May 19th. I did notice we have a link for executive session. Do we have an executive session for this evening, Dr. Eschbach?
I don't have anything.
Okay. And I believe we are done for the night. Thank you, everyone, and I appreciate your time and efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Here.